Hi, Betty.
Hi, how are you?
Okay, how about you?
I'm pretty good. Getting over a
Good.
little bit of the coof, but I'm fine.
Yeah, me too. And in fact, I might even have to every now and then interrupt this recording to cough or something.
Okay,
But I'll do my best. So
okay.
meanwhile, do you see Anna Kopp on my screen?
Yes, I do.
This is Anna Kopp, and she says, for Lesbian Visibility Week, I also want to share some of my personal favorite books with lesbian major characters. If you haven't read these, I 100% recommend.
Oh,
And then, now
boy.
yeah. So now this was a tweet, and a lot of answers came into this with other people throwing in their favorite lesbian romances or lesbian novels, and there was a good. I mean, there were scores of lesbian novels in there, lesbian love stories, and I am wondering why there are so darned many of these things around right now. I mean, I really think there's an explosion of them. I don't have anything against lesbian romances per se. And I'm sure if I was a lesbian, I would want to read one every now and then.
But it's interesting that all of a sudden there's an explosion of them.
Yes. There's an explosion of them in about the last 10 years. And I can't, I mean, that is undoubtable. That can be proven. Everyone says that. But something that I haven't really bothered to prove because it'll take a heck of a lot of research. But I suspect there's something of an oversupply of all these lesbian romances and lesbian novels or stories with lesbian main characters. I don't know that there's that many lesbians out there wanting these novels. I mean, especially like look at this one down in the lower right corner, Princess. This is a little kid's book.
Yeah, that is a kid's book.
And that Dauntless, that's also a kid's book. And actually, I think just about everything on this page is a little kid's book, except for this honey girl up here in the upper left. Look at this. This story about the henna wars and Cinderella and You Should See Me in a Crown and Her Royal Highness. These are young adult and little kid stories.
Yeah, they are, definitely. These are for, like,
Yeah.
if I would be reading these in junior high, this is what would appeal to
Or
me.
or less. I mean, like that one down on the lower right. That's for that's
8,
for well,
9.
okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So I am going to attempt to show you the nuts and bolts of just how this happens. I mean, like people can ask, like, where is this stuff coming from nowadays? Where is it all coming? Why is there so much of it? And I'm going to show you the nuts and bolts and levers and pulleys on the business side of where this comes from and why there's so much of it. I'm going to do that today, right now.
Okay.
So here's Anna Kopp. Anna Kopp, hello and welcome. This was linked from Anna's Twitter page. Anna Kopp is a children's author who lives in Ohio with her husband, 2 boys, and 2 cats. All right, Anna does not seem to be a lesbian herself.
Apparently not.
At best, she's bisexual. Anna loves creating fantasy stories for children of all ages, from picture books to young adult novels. Okay. All right, so Anna has done some writing of her own.
Okay, all right, yeah.
Yeah. And Anna has done some writing of her own. And in fact, I'm going to show you her deal, her most recent deal. Okay, here we are. Anna Kopp, this is the deal. Anna Kopp and artist Gabrielle Kari's The Marble Queen, a sapphic young adult graphic novel with sword fighting, political intrigue, and magic, where the princess needs a marriage alliance for the welfare of her kingdom, but she unknowingly accepts a proposal from a mysterious kingdom, having come not from the prince, but the recently coronated queen. Okay, so that's Anna Kopp's book. And it's not out yet. It's going to be out sometime in 2023, but you can see it here on Amazon. Here's her. Here, you can see it here. Here's the picture of her. Sapphic young adult graphic novel with sword fighting, etc. So Anna does not appear to be a lesbian herself, but she's writing books for lesbian girls, it seems. Anna Kopp is an author. And she is being published. Her book is being published by a publisher. Now, So obviously the people who are producing, like I started off asking, like, where's all this stuff coming from? Obviously from publishers, right? From publishers. And there are a grand total of 5 big publishers, big 5. They're HarperCollins, Macmillan, Penguin Random House, Simon & Schuster, and Hachette. Those are the big 5. And you know something? It is interesting that, Hollywood also has only 5. They have the big 5 studios, Disney, Sony, Columbia, Universal, and Sony. And that,
I think you said Sony. What about Paramount? I don't think you mentioned
Paramount. Yeah. But that is a lot of power in a small number of hands.
Yes, it is.
There's now back here on the East Coast in New York, where the publishers are. There are small publishers too scattered around the country, but you really have to have the power. I mean, like it's the big publishers, it's the big 5 who can throw a marketing budget, an advertising budget, who can do a gigantic print run to get like millions of copies in the stores. That is why the big 5, people who that's why the big 5 have power. Because they can really get books on the shelves.
Yes.
They can get you to buy them. And so anyway, so you've got a lot of content being controlled by just very few producers being selected and pushed out there. Now the people at publishers, at these publishing companies, who choose what is going to be published are known as editors. They're editors, and these editors, they have certain, business drivers. I mean, they have to pick books that are going to sell. They have to pick books that are going to bring prestige to the house, but oftentimes they have both editorial and non-editorial reasons for selecting or rejecting a particular manuscript. Like they have their own preferences. There are things that they want to read. There are things that they want to handle. There are things that they want to see published out there. So a lot of the decisions, the editorial, the publishing decisions made by these gatekeepers, these editors, are personal. It's what I want to see published.
Yes, but isn't it? I mean, aren't they hired on the basis that their personal preference is will actually reach a wide audience? Aren't they hired on that basis, or what?
Well, let's take a look. I mean, not necessarily. They do have to. I mean, when they give the thumbs up to a manuscript, that's not the end of it. I mean, it has to go to. I mean, there's going to be a meeting in which there's a cross-functional, cross-team meeting, whatever, legal and finance and marketing, and other people are going to be there who will say, well, this is going to cause too much legal exposure, or this we're not going to be able to. There's no slot for the market's already flooded with this thing or something. So they will have to defend it on a non-editorial basis, and it might go down. But their ideology and their personal preferences and their taste. I mean, maybe a publishing house might want a lot of hip young aesthetic to come into their company, or other new eyes, fresh face, whatever they. So a lot of it is like what your tastes are likely to be. So that's what's going on with these editors, and now okay. So I was saying, editors will read manuscripts and they'll give them the thumbs up or thumbs down, and I'm not sure what the proportion is, but I think the vast majority get a thumbs down, and because that's just the way it is. I mean, there's they get more than they can possibly say yes to. Now, as for who sends them these manuscripts, it's not the authors. It's not the authors themselves. Editors are one kind of gatekeeper. There's another kind of gatekeeper called an agent, a literary agent. And the reason for this is that there are so many people out there scribbling madly away that these editors cannot possibly be bothered with all the typo-ridden, horrible, just terrible manuscripts that would be coming over the transom. So what they do is they will take only agented submissions. Agented submissions. And a literary agent, that is the person who takes everything coming over the transom. That's the person who does the first level of filtering. And they might refuse like 95%.
At least.
Yeah. They might they probably turn away 95% of the book proposals and manuscripts that come their way. And in fact, oftentimes they won't even, I mean, like they'll turn away, like they'll say, just write me a letter, tell me what you want to send me. And they'll say 95%, they'll say no to 95% of those. Then they actually get the manuscript, they say 95% to no. Anyway. Yeah. So that's how these editors basically, kind of wall themselves off from the masses, the rabble, which of course they have to do.
They have to.
Yeah,
there's no way around it.
Yeah, there's no way around it. And then as we continue down this little daisy chain, agents themselves also have certain preferences. They also want to see certain kinds of books. Like, I have a passion for this kind of book, and I want to see those kinds of books. And I, being the kind of person I am, I want to read books by people like me, for people like me. I mean, they're the same way. They're like some sort of super reader. I want to see this kind of book. And so when authors, go out to sell their, pitch their projects to agents, they have to make sure that they're writing something that agents actually want to handle. So let's start looking at Anna Kopp's publication journey. Okay, first of all, she is represented by, you see her here? She is represented by the Bent Agency. And as a matter of fact, in this deal, you can see right here, coming up from the print, the recently coordinated to Brett Israel at Dark Horse by Claire Draper at the Bent Agency. So Claire Draper is the agent who made this sale to Brett Israel. Brett Israel is the editor at Dark Horse Comics who bought it. Yeah. Okay. So so let's go take a look at the Bent Agency. Okay, all right, here's the Bent Agency. It's an innovative transatlantic literary agency. Important for, look at that. Clients in the news, whatever. Oh, look, the Bent Agency's statement on book banning and censorship. We're going to get an idea of who the Bent Agency is. The Bent Agency stands with its clients in defense of the freedom to read and against the harms of censorship. The recent surge in attempts to ban books from public and school libraries and curricula hurts everyone, from the creators whose stories and identities are targeted to the readers whose freedom is being curtailed. We realize that the objections to the representation of identities and experiences contained in these books are objections to the identities and experiences themselves. And we know that authors from historically excluded communities are disproportionately affected by book bans as a result. We will continue to make their voices heard. We also send our support to the teachers and librarians put in difficult positions by the restrictive and hurtful actions of elected officials. Book banning has no place in our society, and the Bent Agency condemns it wholeheartedly. All right, so we kind of know who the Bent... We've got an introduction to the Bent Agency.
Yes, we do.
So let's go... Oh, all right, let's get the mission of the Bent Agency. We strive to provide the gold standard of representation by championing the individual needs and potential of our clients and agents. We are committed to inclusive practices and value the creativity, innovation, and richness of diversity. Okay, we've already got inclusiveness and diversity here. We do not discriminate or tolerate biases of any kind regarding race, color, religion, sexual orientation, gender identity, gender expression, etc., 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 etc. Okay, we are dedicated to fostering and creating a space for creativity and inspiration that enriches the lives. Okay, All right, so let's look at our team here. Let us look at them.
I do want to keep that in mind as we take a look at some of these gatekeepers.
Yes, these are gatekeepers.
To see exactly how wide they throw their net.
Yes, and how inclusive they are.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right. So, here's Claire Draper. So let's find out about Claire. You see Claire Draper right here? Mm-hmm. Here's Claire. Okay, so let's read more. Claire Draper, they, them. Okay. Claire says, I fell in love with books later than some when my high school best friend dragged me to the theater to see Twilight. All right, actually, I'm telling you, this is not an auspicious beginning. I became a book fanatic after that. There was not a time you could catch me without a book on my person or fanfic open on my phone. I read every young adult novel available and quickly moved on to the adult romance section, which was decently larger, etc. I decided I wanted to be involved in books any way I could. I ended up moving from California to New York. Okay, that's what you do. To try to get a degree and weasel my way into book. That's what you do, because that's where it is. It's in New York. Okay, so after studying queer diversity in children's literature at NYU's Gallatin School, I think I pronounced it right, and pursuing multiple internships, in 2016, I spent a fantastic, if short-lived, 2 weeks working as a bookseller for The Strand before joining Inkwell. Okay. In early 2019, I moved to the Bent Agency to start building my list with a collection of very queer books for kids of all ages, including graphic novels, picture books.
Picture books.
Middle grade and young adult. By the way, for those who don't know, a graphic novel is essentially a glorified comic book. It's just a book-length comic book. Mm-hmm. And then I embarked on books for adults, etc. When I decided to return to my favorites with particularly queer memoir, queer romance novels, select adult nonfiction. Okay, so for all the books I work with, I prefer to work with queer creators and BIPOC creators.
Okay, so already she is very limited. She is completely limiting the books that she wants to read and the ones that she wants to publish. She's very limited.
Yeah, I would say she is.
Yeah. So she's not reflecting the mission statement or something of this place that she works at.
She is not reflecting
the stated
rich tapestry of America. That's for sure. I mean, she's just got down to one or two threads, and strongly encourage those creators to send me their work, regardless of genre, age, or subject. I like lighthearted. Okay, I'm largely genre agnostic, but I do prefer books with a fast pace, high stakes, strong emotional development from the main characters. I do not want to see books from authors writing identity-based books not of their own identity.
Well, what about Anna Kopp?
Good question. Actually, this is where I tend to say, if I think like every single lesbian in the nation would have to be writing a book if they wanted only lesbians to write books for lesbians.
Yeah.
Because like I told you, I mean, there are 95% of the first layer is discarded, 95% of the second layer is discarded, 95% of the next layer is... Mm-hmm. I mean, it takes a lot to get through that. Yeah. To go through those filters. And but I knew someone who went to... I don't know, it was some sort of writers' conference or publishers' conference at once upon a time. And there were these women who had this small feminist press that they were running out of San Francisco. And people were throwing the tomatoes at them and saying, how come you don't publish any books by black women? And they were saying, we are dying to publish books by black women. We are screaming for manuscripts by black women, but the manuscripts aren't coming in. We would love to publish some books by black women, but we're just not, they're not writing them. They're not sending them to us. So see, I mean, the thing is, there would have to be so many people, like I say, every single lesbian in America would have to be writing a novel, in order for her to basically, represent lesbian novels that are written by lesbians. So I think that's why Anna Kopp squeaks in every now and then. She's white. Okay. She's white, and she writes about this lesbian princess of college. But someone's got to write these things. So
okay.
So let's see here. What does she want? For graphic novels, I like a diverse set of characters in nearly any genre or location. I love art that challenges traditional styles and is easily recognizable as belonging to a particular artist. I like stories for all ages, fiction and nonfiction, but especially love when a book has strong themes of love and or friendship and is extra queer.
I wonder what extra queer means as opposed to standard issue queer.
I don't know. Let's see. What does she want? For young adult and middle grade contemporary. I love fiction where the main character has average everyday challenges and we see how they overcome them. I love books that are lighthearted, emotionally poignant. I am especially interested in queer, disabled, and BIPOC protagonists, especially when the books are not issue driven. Yeah, whatever. Okay. What does she want for young adult and middle grade genre? Fast pacing, high stakes, genre not preferential to any specific genre, as long as, okay. Much like with contemporary, I'm especially interested in queer, disabled, and BIPOC protagonists, especially when the books are not issue driven. Okay, so this is what Claire Draper is looking for. Oh, Claire's guidelines for querying. Claire's guidelines for querying. By submitting a query to me, you are agreeing to address me as Claire or Mix Draper, and that your manuscript will not contain the following or will be considered an automatic pass. Okay, so these are things she just doesn't want to see. Believe it or not, if I read these things out loud, this video could be demonetized, so I won't read them out loud.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's Claire. Here's they, them. So this is, okay, Claire, they, them. All right, so now these agents, the next step, these agents sort of have relationships with editors, or they know what editors are looking for, because they're all in the same little incestuous city. They're the little incestuous little industry. So the agents know what the editors are looking for, and that is why Claire probably was able to sell this project to Brett Israel. Now we can go and take a look at Brett Israel. Here's Brett Israel. Here are Brett Israel's deals. Let's see. Caitlin likes the 100th voice. Okay, I don't know what this is, but I'll tell you. Let's see. Okay, children's graphic novel. Melissa Capriglione's Basil and Oregano pitches the Great British Bake Off set in a magical boarding school. A magiculinary student has devoted everything to winning the end-of-year competition until a new girl arrives at school, and she finds herself torn between her goals and her heart. Okay, so in other words, what we have here is it's a lesbian. It's a little lesbian love story. It's
lesbian love story. Look at that.
Yeah, it's these two girls. This is children's.
Yes, it is.
Graphic novel.
Yeah.
Yeah. Basil and Oregano. Generous dash of romance. You got a sweetly delicious lower young adult graphic novel.
Jeez.
You lower young adult. This is like before the age of 14 or something.
Yeah, I'm thinking like 12.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see, Brett. What else has Brett got? Oh, this is.
Do we have a picture of Brett?
I don't think we do. Yes. Actually, I do have a picture of Brett somewhere. Brett's a guy.
Is he a white guy? Does he have any kind
Yes, he's a white guy.
Of course, okay.
Yeah, yeah. Let's see, another children's graphic novel. Ole Franey's Monster Crush, pitched as Beetle and the Hollow Bones. Okay, I happen to have found, here we are. Ole Franey Monster Crush. And LGBTQ, what else? Adult graphic novel. Monster Crush, young adult graphic novel by Ole Franey. Touches on themes like LGBTQ identities and relationships, bullying, divorce, self-confidence, loving oneself. Yeah. So that's what Brett wants. What else does Brett want? Or what else? Let's see, Brett, creators of Bloodlust and Bonnets. Plain old graphic novel. Emily McGovern's 12% dread about two, here we are, 12% dread about two 20-something women living in 10 minutes in the future London who are doing their best to navigate an anxiety-inducing modern world characterized by relentless technological, et cetera, et cetera. I looked at the Amazon description. Yeah, they're gay. They're lesbian. They're ex-lovers or something.
Okay.
So that's how these relationships work. I mean, the agents know what the editors want. And the authors also. I mean, well, okay, that's what the agent wants. That's what we want these days. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take a look. Yes?
How well do these things sell?
That is a good question. I did look at that page full of, all those novels that Anna Kopp said she liked, her favorites. I can't get back there because the Zoom window will be screwed.
Yeah,
But some of them looked like they were selling pretty well. Some of them. She got the best sellers, I think, on there. So, but that's another one that's.
It surprises me because I don't know what who's buying them. Are the parents
really
buying them?
Yeah.
I don't. have a hard time believing that. I mean, I know that there are parents who
Yeah, oh
are
yeah.
completely into all that whole.
Yeah,
I said, I know that there are parents
Yeah,
who are completely
right.
into that and would buy every single book that they can
right.
just to prove their own bona fides as well.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
but I don't think the average person, the average parent, is going to be buying these books for their girls. I just don't see that.
I don't see it either, and that's why I'm saying I think there's sort of an oversupply of this literature. But I can't prove that. I can't. I mean, I can prove it. I could do a little more research and see like how many of these books are remaindered. You know, how many of them actually sell. I mean, I don't think there has not been a breakout blockbuster young adult novel, I think, since Twilight. I mean, of course, that was that was just kind of a very rare phenomenon, the way that thing broke out. But I mean, I don't think there's no lesbian romance like that. They can't be selling as well as those books about Edward.
Right.
So. Anyway, back to Claire Draper's page. Yeah, okay, okay, here are the editors she works with. Okay, one of them is Makisha Telfer. Let's see, I can go find. Here's Makisha Telfer. Here's her manuscript wish list. See, they tell you what they want. Okay, she works with Roaring Book Press, which is a Macmillan imprint. Okay, yeah, middle grade picture books, young adult. She's a kids book editor. Favorite subgenres: action, adventure, contemporary, young adult, feminism, LGBTQ+, speculative fiction, whatever. I'm looking to build a list of contemporary and speculative teen and middle grade fiction. Particularly interested in all these things. 5 Minutes in the Future, whatever, young adult fantasy, with rich, non-Eurocentric, pseudo-European world building. Own Voices works from transgender authors for middle grade and young adult.
So she's going to have to break out of that then. She's going to have to go to the Anna Copps of the world because there aren't that many transgender authors who are non-Eurocentric, pseudo-European.
Yeah.
Whatever they are.
There's just not enough of them. There's just not enough. And listen, we got some more editors out here. Here's HarperCollins Children's Book. This is one of the big five. Stephanie Guerdon. What does she want? My manuscript with a young adult book with humor and high fantasy action and powerful queer energy of Thor. She wants...
Somebody has to ask these people why.
Yeah, why? I mean, okay, here, fiction. She wants LGBTQ. Nonfiction. She wants LGBTQ. I mean, why? I'm just curious why.
I'm curious as to why also, because don't you want good stuff? I mean, does it have to be so narrowly focused?
Well, like I said, I mean, these people, I don't know, they want, I don't know. Maybe it's because it's what she wants to read.
Well, obviously it's what she wants to read, and she obviously she has an agenda.
Yeah. Now here, Erica Turner, Little Brown, that is an imprint of, it's one of the big five. I'm not sure whether I can't remember which one, but it is an imprint of one of the big five. Okay, I'm particularly interested in projects by marginalized creators. At this point, how can you call these people marginalized? That's all anyone wants. They're the only people anyone wants. And stories that center marginalized voices, especially related to queer women and femmes. I don't know what femme. I also love dog and animal books and would love stories that still feature BIPOC or queer kids who interact with the world of pets and creatures. Fiction, LGBTQ. Nonfiction, LGBTQ. Here's another one of these editors. She's with Penguin.
Are there any editors who are not LGBTQ?
Oh, there are. There are. It's the whole big five. They've all gone HarperCollins. Here we all gone again. I'm looking for young adult and middle grade fiction in a variety of genres, as well as select graphic novel and nonfiction. I'm focused on building an inclusive list, which means I'm always looking for BIPOC and LGBTQ+ creators and underrepresented voices in any genre. LGBTQ. So anyway, this gives you an idea of basically who the gatekeepers are, who the tastemakers are, who it is, who's shaping, basically the whole pop cultural landscape. And now while we're here,
it's extremely limited.
Well, I'm sort of just focusing in on a couple of the few, but this is just one example of this daisy chain. This is repeated throughout the industry over and over and over. And before, I'm just going to talk about two things real quickly. One, this is kind of, I don't know, it's kind of incidental, but let's take a look at the Bent Agency again. Are you seeing a pattern? Are you seeing
yes.
a certain demographic?
They're the same person.
Are you seeing? Yeah. I mean, yeah. Oh, whoops. Look at that.
Oh,
look at
there.
that. Token.
How did
Token
he get
dude.
in
I don't
there?
know. I'm seeing a pattern here. There's another one. There's another
in?
one.
Oh, they let another.
Let me
one
see.
in.
Well, okay, as long as he gives his pronouns. Good boy gives his pronouns. But yeah, I mean, I'm seeing a pattern here. And okay, right here. These are the top 10 literary agencies selling kids literature, children's book. Well, middle grade fiction. I could have done young adult, but middle grade fiction. These are the top 10 agencies for this middle grade fiction. And as a matter of fact, if you look at any of them, here's one of them, Distal Goodrich. For the most part, I'm seeing the same pattern. I am seeing the same pattern.
Very much
That's
so.
Distal Goodrich.
Very much. This is like overwhelming.
This is Pippin Properties. This is another one of the ones on the top 10 list.
Wow.
Are you seeing a pattern?
I see a serious pattern.
Is there someone here? Oh, let's see what we have about. Let's see what Pippin Properties has to say.
I think I just
It's
saw they're
also dedicated to diversity, inclusion, and equity in all facets of publishing. We must do our part to dismantle inequitable practices and systemic racism in the publishing industry and in our country, our lousy country.
Do they ever sit around in a boardroom and look at themselves?
Yeah. So that's Pippin Properties. Let's see who else we got here. This is Rosemary Stamola. Are you seeing a pattern? Okay, well, there's an outlier. Now, he's only director of operations. Let's see, another one of the top 10 New Leaf Literary Agency. Who have we here? Are you seeing a pattern?
This is amazing. This is amazing.
You seeing a pattern here?
They're the same person.
This could almost be Claire Draper right here.
Yeah.
Here's Erin Murphy. This is one of the top 10. You seeing a pattern?
Unbelievable. Unfreaking believable.
Okay, there's an outlier, Kevin, but he lives with his husband and dog so he's an honorable. Okay, so
yeah.
Honorary. Here's Andrea
yeah.
Brown, the top selling one. Are you?
He's an honorary white cisgender.
Yeah.
Okay.
You seeing a pattern here? Let's see about.
This is unfreaking believable.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
These are self-selecting.
Yeah.
This is like hiring life.
Yeah. But yeah, I thought I'd point that out. And the other okay. There's just two more little things actually I want to say. One is all right. So people will probably be saying, "Oh, you're just Little Miss Sour Grapes because you couldn't sell a book. That's why." Now, I'm not bitching about anything. Number one, I am just showing you. I'm just showing you how it works. I mean, people ask, where did all this stuff come from? Why is all this stuff in the kids' library? And who hired the teachers and whatever? That's because this is who is in the industry. This is who is making the choices. And authors know. Authors like Anna Kopp know. Even though she lives with her husband and her two boys, she knows what she has to write. And so that's where it comes from.
Yeah.
And as for me, okay, I did, as a matter of fact, write a book proposal for a biography of a Disney artist named Mary Blair, and I got several offers of representation, including one of the top five nonfiction agents in New York. Yes, I did. Unfortunately, he could not sell it. But no, this is not Little Miss Sour Grapes because no one would even look at my crummy book.
Right.
I mean, I got some creds here. I
Yeah.
mean, and they turned it down largely for it was a lot of non-editorial reasons. Like Disney couldn't publish it because they had just republished, or they had published a second edition of John Canemaker's book about Mary Blair, so they were out of the anyway. So there's that. That's who I am. I'm not Little Miss Grudge. And the other thing, while we're on this subject, I just want to say, I would be so happy if the whole genre of young adult literature would just burn. We don't need it.
We really don't. There's no stepping stone necessary. I mean, when I was, 11, I was reading Pamela. I think that was the first one I read.
The thing is, readers of young adult literature, teens, are perfectly capable of reading the classics.
Perfectly capable. And also, it's probably, I would say it's a better idea for them to read the classics because it does stretch them.
Yes, it does. I mean, you don't have to read a book about stupid local junior high.
No, you don't have to get spoon-fed a story or ideas, but with the classics, it unfolds and it prods you, and you learn as you go, and it's just so much more of it's such a oh gosh.
Now, I believe when you were quite young, you were reading science fiction by Robert Heinlein,
yes.
And you also read Great Expectations by Charles Dickens.
Because
yes. I remember,
I think I did.
Yes, and the thing is, I mean, here's the other thing about the classics. A lot of the classics are books about kids.
Yes, yes.
Dickens wrote a lot of books about kids.
Yeah, he did.
Emily Bronte's Wuthering Heights.
Yes.
That is a book about these teenagers.
Yes.
Practically almost no one in that book is over the age of 19 at any time when they're having their big moment
that's true.
in the book.
Yeah.
They're almost all teenagers.
Yeah. Of course.
And
I mean, teenagers were a different thing back then, but
yeah, they were a different thing back then, but they had these mighty passions for each other, and they lived with their widowed dads and things, and they, their lives were not their own, but they fell madly in love, and they tried to, fashion their own lives, and they had the weight of the adults' expectations on them, the adults, whatever, revenge fantasies, whatever. There was that, but there lots of classics are written about kids, and they're written about, like young people's issues, young people's angst, young people's struggles.
Yeah. And then let's not forget short stories too.
What stories?
Short stories. I went through all of those.
Short stories.
All of Mark Twain's short stories when I was 10 or 11, and I was
Mark Twain. Saki had tons of really cool gotcha stories about little kids and teenagers.
Thurber. Thurber stories.
Thurber. Yeah. So, I mean, kids can read those things.
Yes, they can totally read them.
If you just leave them lying around, they'll pick them up and read them. I mean, they're just like the way they crawl around the carpet and eat dust out of the carpet. And then later on in life, you just leave books lying around, they'll pick them up and read them.
Right.
They don't have to read books about stupid Harrison High or whatever that stupid is. They don't need that spoon-fed garbage. They can read classics, and they can like classics by accident. So that's why I would be happy to see young adult just take a dive anyway. I just be happy to see it go. It's an invention, I think, of I don't know, maybe it probably came along, I don't know when, the 40s or 50s.
It probably came along when, like when teenagerhood kind of hit.
Yeah, when teenagerhood was invented, which was, I think, in the 1950s.
So, I don't know if it was that late. I thought it was a little earlier than that.
It was like that late. It was that late.
Well, then that's probably when it came along. That had to have been when it came along.
Yeah. So that's our little lesson for the day.
Okay.
You ask where does this stuff come from? Where is it coming from? Well, this is where it's coming from. This is why it happens. It's because of who's making the decisions, who's pulling the strings, who's keeping the gates.
Yeah, it is all those gatekeepers. It's up to the gatekeepers.
Yeah. So that's just an answer to the question. People are asking, people, who hires these people, who buys this stuff, whatever. And these are the people who make the buying and publishing decisions.
Well, that's pretty interesting. I never saw that. I never knew that, and I never knew that they were all the same person.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. That they're that diverse.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thanks, Betty. I'll talk to you some other day. Oh, yeah. And as for my Mary Blair project, my erstwhile Mary Blair project, that's another topic for another video. But we'll talk about that sometime, because I would like to talk about archivists and diarists and people who keep records and people who leave records. Those people are very important.
Okay.
To knowing our history. Yes. So, all right. Well, I'll talk to you later. Thanks for dropping by.
Okay. See you later.
Okay. Bye.